What is going on, traders? It's going to be a quick video. Just want to update you guys real quick on my thoughts when it comes to the market. I wasn't going to make a video, but I kind of owe you guys because I took like 3 days off last week. So we're going to get straight into it. Like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So as far as the Discord goes, yesterday, before close, we jumped into 525 puts for the triple Qs, and crazy enough, the market started to sell off due to the Iran and Israel news. So congratulations to Discord members on that. We made an absolute bag on that. We saw the triple Qs dump all the way to like 523 after hours, and then ended up somewhat recovering towards 526 after hours. So congratulations to those who took that play. Ended up closing the rest of my position at 3.18. We took profit on that, and then we jumped back. I jumped into, well, not 3.18. We closed the remaining runners from yesterday. This morning we ended up taking profit on that, and then I jumped into more triple Q puts, 525 puts for June 18th, which was next Wednesday, expiration next Wednesday at 3.18. Ended up trimming some contracts here at 3.96, and then ultimately took profit at 4.56. Today we jumped into IWM puts, 208 strike. The bot alerted these 616 puts, which is Monday. I extended the expiration to June 18th. I alerted Discord members that I'm in June 18th puts instead at 1.90. As you guys can see, the market is still open. It's 3:30 Eastern while I'm doing this video, so you can see where IWM is at that point in time. And then heading into close, ended up taking profit on IWM. We're also in gold calls as well. Gold is going crazy. Ended up taking profit on IWM puts at 2.20. So congratulations to Discord members on that. Winners tab, killing it as usual. Usually everybody starts updating the winners tab towards the end of the day, but yeah, nothing too crazy just yet. But this guy right here, he made $441 today. This guy right here, he's killing it as well. So a few members putting out their plays. Usually everybody just starts going crazy towards the end of the day when it comes to updating this thing. So maybe update you guys on a later video. But when it comes to the overall market here, where is it? Here we go. So I got too many trading view tabs up. So when it comes to the overall market, one thing I've mentioned to Discord members in our Discord exclusive video is that I do believe we're going to see more downside. And crazy enough, we are seeing this rising wedge pattern break down, right? Completely break down. So it's crazy that, I was getting, people were joking about how I've been talking about this for weeks, but yes, it's on the daily time frame. So of course it's going to take a long time for this to play out. But if we're on a 2-hour time frame, you guys see that we're breaking down from here. Our short-term projected move for this is 21,300. 21,300 is your short-term projected move. One thing I mentioned in the last video is that once you get within the range of these guys right here, they are going to fight back. We saw exactly that happen today, where today at open we saw that we couldn't really get below 21,500. I told you guys this is going to be a tough level in the last video, and we ended up recovering back towards the upside, retesting 21,850. Bulls ended up getting trapped here, and then we broke back down all over again. I do think we're going to see a little bit more downside. Again, I'm looking at 21,300, 21,400, give or take, and then from there, I do think it's very much possible we see a recovery back towards the upside. So that's my thoughts on the NASDAQ. You also see here that you do have a head and shoulders pattern within the rising wedge pattern. Again, the short-term projected move for this head and shoulders patterns, crazy enough, is 21,300. So shoulder here, head here, another shoulder here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I do think we're going to see more downside. I wouldn't be surprised Monday we open up red. It's also important to note that Donald Trump is consistently, somebody mentioned this in the Discord, Donald Trump has consistently warned us about everything that's about to come, right? So he warned us about this. He warned us about Israel and Iran, and look what happened, right? He's been telling us like days in advance that this stuff is going to happen. And so he also warned us that within the next 24 to 48 hours, we are going to see probably another strike or a retaliation happen between Israel and Iran. So crazy enough, it looks like that's about to happen. So we'll see. So I'm not interested in holding calls or too many calls over the weekend when it comes to this news, because we have a lot of news lingering when it comes to this stuff. So I think the best thing you can do is either sit on cash or hold your puts. But if you are looking at calls or holding calls over the weekend, I suggest having long dated contracts, right? Maybe July or something like that. So we'll see. Maybe you end up being right. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But that's what I'm looking at for the NQ. Triple Qs, we're going to focus on the tech sector in this video. But triple Qs, again, you broke below this rising wedge pattern. Okay, you broke below this rising wedge pattern all over again. Again, your short-term projected move when it comes to this is about 515. if I'm being humble, I would say 522 is our next target, and 515 I'm kind of hesitant on, simply because there's a lot of turbulence in this area. But if we do manage to break within this area of 515, then it gets a little scary. Okay, it gets a little bit scary, and we're going to need some pretty good news to really break back towards the upside here. So for now, your focus should be, or at least my focus will be, 520 for the triple Qs, between 520 and 522, and then we'll see what happens from there. Again, your short-term projected target for this rising wedge is at around 515 on the triple Qs. If we're going to lowball it, we'll say 522, 520 range. So that's what I'm looking at for the triple Qs. When it comes to upside, 533, that was your key level. You ended up retesting that level. Not only that, not only did you retest it, but you filled this gap. And I tell you guys all the time, gaps have very strong support and resistance. All right, so it was pretty evident that that's what we were going for at market open. Once we started seeing a pump towards the upside, that we were simply just going to fill this gap and then potentially head back towards the downside. Happens like clockwork. How people thought this was a buy to dip opportunity is crazy to me, versus just simply saying, okay, maybe we're just going to fill this gap before heading back towards the downside. All right, but I understand almost every single dip within this market it's consistently been bought up, so I understand the idea behind that, but some things you just have to kind of sit back and see what happens. And what happened here was that we just simply filled the gap. And so next target I'm looking at is about 522 on the triple Qs. Probably won't happen today, obviously. I mean, it's like 20 minutes before close, so I'm guessing maybe we'll get news over the weekend, and then Monday we probably gap down, and then from there we start recovering. Now if we look at the VIX, the VIX did something crazy. I told you guys about this falling wedge pattern on the VIX. As you guys can see, we pretty much broke down towards the top of the rising wedge pattern. We ended up not filling this gap towards the downside. We just hit the top of the, I guess, support level of this gap fill, and then we just rejected, or we bounced back towards the upside. So crazy enough, before close, or at least a few hours before close, in our Discord, we saw that a lot of 22 strike calls for the VIX were coming in. 21.5 calls were coming in. I can actually show you guys some alerts that came in, just to show you guys how powerful this stuff is and what you're really missing out on when you're not in our Discord. Even if you don't believe in me or anything like that, I mean, this thing is gold. So we got 320 calls for gold that came in. These are currently in profit. I'm actually in this play. 31.48 million premium. Volume is insane. 78% confidence. June 20th is the expiration. And then you have Hood puts. I don't know where Hood is right now. I'm not paying attention to that. But Microsoft puts as well, 475 puts on Microsoft, so feel free to check out where Microsoft is. SPY puts, 598 puts. You see SPY is well under 598. These were alerted earlier today at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Expiration was today, so you'll be very much in profit. But we saw VIX 21 strike calls come in, right? And then we also saw UVXY calls come in. We saw triple Q 521, 525 puts come in all over again, 70% hit rate on these. And then they were alerted this morning at 10:04 Eastern time. June 13th was the expiration, which is today, right? So a lot of these puts came in. Now, what's interesting and what I want to get into real quick is that even though we're dropping, right, I don't think this war, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be the ultimate market crasher, right? I don't think this is going to be the case. Historically, the market acts like it cares about this type of stuff or anything that's going on in the Middle East, and then like a few days later, it's like it never happened. So I'm assuming that's going to happen again, unless we start sending U.S. troops down there and U.S. troops start dying off and things like that, God forbid. But unless we start doing things like that, I don't think the market is going to care about this in the long run. Intermediate to long run, I think we'll start recovering soon, like earliest next week, mid next week, something like that, and we start recovering back towards the upside. Now, whether that upside leads to all-time highs, I can't say for sure, but I do think we're going to just blow this whole Middle East thing off, and head back towards the upside. Simply because another reason why I believe this is, one, I mean, the VIX left a massive gap to the downside. It's not to say that we're going to fill that gap, but what's more important here is what semiconductors are doing. So when you look at stocks like NVIDIA, last night we watched the SPY, like look at NVIDIA. Last night we watched the SPY dump all the way from like 600s to 592. Remember, 592 was a key level that we talked about. NVIDIA is not moving. Semiconductors are not moving. NVIDIA dropped from like what, 144? And like 140, and opened at like 143, 142 this morning. Nvidia is hardly being phased by this stuff. Okay, again, the SPY dropped from 600 to 592. Nvidia only dropped to like 142. So either semiconductors are waiting on personal news in order to drop, or they're just waiting on good news, or you're just witnessing some type of rotation into semiconductors. But ultimately, I don't think this is another reason why I don't think this drop is legit. I don't think we're going to like crash and burn just yet, or some type of correction or anything like that. I think this again. I think this is going to blow over. What's important here is that our Discord bot alerted NVIDIA 150 calls for June 20th, right, which is next Friday, 538 premium. And you're seeing a lot of these calls coming. You got MSTR calls coming in. These did not play out, I don't think. I think they were in profit, so, but I don't think they played out completely. But you're seeing a lot of these semiconductor calls come in, which is very interesting. You got CoreWeave calls coming in. You got a lot of these the AMD calls coming in. So again, you're seeing semiconductors just get a lot of love despite this downside that we're getting. And maybe it's a hedge. I don't know, but you got Meta. Well, these Meta calls, I think they played out. I think they played. Yeah, they did play out. Actually, I looked at Meta, but yeah. Regardless, you're just seeing semiconductors get a lot of love. Intel, you know, if you want to consider that a semiconductor, I guess. But Intel, you got SOXX calls coming in for June 20th, right? So very, very interesting stuff there. Okay, semiconductors are getting a lot of love, and I think that's part of the reason why, or I think it's obvious that's part of the reason why the market is just refusing to truly dump towards the downside. And you're constantly seeing these recovery points back towards the upside where the triple Qs will dump, right, and then it'll just give at least a good percentage of that move back, right, because you're just not seeing it reflect across the board. Remember, I talked to you guys about MARL. This thing is not moving, right? Yeah, it went from 69 to 67, but what is that, right? What is that to really worry about? So again, if the market was going to dump, like truly dump, semiconductors need to like start making it happen. All right. But if semiconductors are not making it happen, I think that's a strong tell that we are going to recover back towards the upside pretty soon. I don't know when, but I'm assuming sometime next week, just based off what we're seeing in regards to these alerts. Again, if you want access to these type of alerts, right? I mean, Discord members are loving this stuff. They're making tons of money off this stuff, right? If you want access to these alerts, Discord link will be in the description below. But ultimately, guys, my point being here is that I do not believe that this is the drop of all drops. I know that sounds crazy coming from me. I think we're going to recover, right? Monday, we may, you know, open up red, like more red. But ultimately, I do think the market is going to recover back towards the upside. Again, I can't say if it's going to lead to all-time highs or anything like that. But I do think we're going to see some pretty massive move back towards the upside. It's also important to note, like I said before, Donald Trump keeps warning us of these things. He also told us that more trade deals are coming in. Now, whether those trade deals are going to be good or not, I don't know. Whether they're going to actually sign some papers on this stuff, I don't know. But we still have more trade deals coming in when it comes to China and other countries. So that could be another reason why we see maybe the VIX fill this gap towards the downside, or why maybe that those NVIDIA calls came in, right? I showed you guys those NVIDIA 150 calls come in, right? Maybe we make a real deal with China, like a really good deal with China, and then semiconductors love that. Even Apple ends up loving that, and we pump back towards the upside. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments below, all right? Do you think this is the drop, the actual drop? Do you think the full top is in, we're going to dump the rest of the summer? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think about Tesla. I thought this move was absolutely disrespectful. Really, really disrespectful move right here. But Tesla is making higher lows. Okay, that's something to pay attention to as well. Robo taxi event is coming up. Well, it might come up. We don't know. It might get postponed again. It's crazy that Elon Musk postponed this week before the whole war thing happened. I thought that was crazy timing. But you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments below. But you have higher lows forming on Tesla. You don't have a higher high yet, but this is something to pay attention to. All right. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Until the next video, traders, have a good one.